Books are apparently having their comeback, or they never went out of fashion. Everywhere we turn, it seems like there are more books. And while recommendations for the new ones are piling up, we're discovering old classical ones, and our reading lists are getting longer and longer. It seems that our lives are now too short to consume all the great knowledge that is on the printed page. Radio promised us killing books, TV and cinema as well. When the internet finally came along, MySpace tried really hard but didn't even put the dent into libraries. Yet 10 years later, MySpace died and here we are. Books are still available now. All the Netflix and TikToks and swiping notification-y thingies in our pockets are trying to put us away from the printed word. Yet it seems like books are going nowhere.
Why are books so crucial to our civilization? From religious and historical ones to 50 Shades of erotic and thriller novels, forbidden love between Romeo and Juliet, or forbidden love between boring girl and a hot vampire, it seems that books are not made of our lives, but that our lives are made out of books. Books are, how to put it, the fabric of our lives. In this episode, we will ask greatest writers why do we read books. We will travel to time to understand the history of the books better. We will consult neuroscientists to see what reading does to our brains. And most importantly, we will try to investigate how the future of books might look like, as well as the future of humanity.
Welcome to the Fabric of Life. I'm your host Vladislav Radak. I'm a writer and mathematician, and I try in this show to fuse art and science to answer some questions that bother us on day-to-day basis that we don't really yet have answers for, and sometimes that requires reading into a classical literature or traveling to some other countries. We use everything from artificial intelligence to ancient novels. And today's question is really simple, but the answer might be super complicated. Why do we read books? Let me take you on an adventure.
Hello, Instagram.
Bad boy. Run wild. I'm on a mission and I won't stop. No destination, but it's worth a shot.
Before we start this episode, don't forget to hit a like button, and also don't forget to subscribe if you're not, because every week I'm taking you new and amazing adventures. In the next episodes we will discuss why do we drink coffee, and I will take you to faraway country to discover the most beautiful bookstore in the world. They're seemingly outdated technology. They're like blogs that you cannot easily scroll through, that don't even have comments underneath. I mean, you cannot really argue with people after every chapter, or they're like janky, old, heavy tablets that have only one app, and that app is, you guessed it, Reader. We tried to reinvent them with audiobooks and e-readers, but it seems that books are still perfect piece of technology that didn't change at all for hundreds of years. And although they are made of paper, apart from a couple of dictators trying to burn them, it seems that they're indestructible. Now we spend millions of dollars trying to preserve old copies of the books instead of just printing new copies with the same content for $1 or $2. It seems like books possess something magical.
The question why we read books and what books actually do for us is old as written word itself, and as attractive. Galileo saw reading as the way of having superhuman powers. For Kafka, books were the eggs for the frozen sea within us. Carl Sagan held them as proof that humans are capable of working magic. James Baldwin found them a way to change one's destiny. For Polish Nobel laureate Wisława Szymborska, they stood as our ultimate frontier of freedom.
I completed my first novel when I was only 15, and since then I'm on this amazing quest to find answer for this really complicated question. Why would anybody read my book? And if they do so, why would they read the second one?
I was a child back then, and all I wanted to do is catch this very unique moment of my experience and preserve it for a little longer. I could sense that what comes next in adulthood is a string of musts and unfulfilled needs, and I wanted for just one more second to live in the moment where you truly believe magic can actually happen.
Neil Gaiman, one of the most prolific writers of our time, agreed with me in his beautiful and timeless piece that is called Why Our Future Depends on Libraries, Reading and Daydreaming. He even gave a lecture that was viewed by millions of people.
I was lucky. I had an excellent local library growing up. I had the kind of parents who could be persuaded to drop me off in the library on their way to work in my summer holidays, and the kind of librarians who did not mind a small, unaccompanied boy heading back into the children's library every morning and working his way through the card catalogue, looking for books with ghosts or magic or rockets in them, looking for vampires or detectives or witches or wonders. And when I'd finished reading the children's library, I began on the adult books.
Trying to understand power books have over humanity is probably old as written word itself, and many great writers over the ages tried to uncover this great mystery, but I guess nobody did it better and more profound than actually Swiss-born German painter and novelist Hermann Hesse in his 1930th essay called The Magic of the Book.
Among the many worlds that man did not receive as a gift from nature but created in his own mind, the world of books is the greatest. Without this world, without the writing of books, there is no history, there is no concept of humanity. And if anyone wants to try to enclose it in a small space, in a single house or a single room, the humanity of human spirit, and to make it its own, he can only do this in a form of a collection of books.
History books are written by winners, so we don't have a lot of use out of them. But the truth of the common man is captured between the pages of great novels and pieces of art, of specifically fiction. That's the only medium that actually overcomes the trap of corruption of the human soul. It cannot be rewritten or hacked.
Writing nearly a century after Hermann Hesse's magnificent manifesto for why books will never lose its magic, no matter how technology evolves, Gaiman borrows a perfect metaphor to verify his belief that books will endure and perhaps pass the age of screens. As Douglas Adams once pointed out to me, over 20 years before the Kindle showed up, a physical book is like a shark. Sharks are old. There were sharks in the ocean before the dinosaurs. And the reason there are still sharks around is that sharks are better at being sharks than anyone else is. Physical books are tough, hard to destroy, bath-resistant, solar-operated, feel good in your hand. They're good at being books, and there will always be a place for them.
And as university lecturer, I'm going to give you one clear metaphor of importance of reading, and that actual metaphor is kind of true and dark and sad. In some countries, we're not going to name which countries, there is a big business of private prisons. They are actually hoping to get more criminals in the future, so their business will thrive and grow. The only problem is they want to analyze how their business will develop in the next 10 or 20 years, how much investments they're going to need and, build those prisons. They use one data stream that is always unapologetically proving what will happen next. Those investors analyze one really specific stream of data. They actually want to see in this very moment how many kids aged 10 and 11 cannot read at all. Isn't that sad?
Daniel Willingham, a professor of psychology at University of Virginia, talked about the importance, which many researchers have examined, of the number of books in one's childhood home. Studies looking at family scholarly culture have found that children who grew up surrounded by books tend to attend higher levels of education and to be better readers than those who didn't, even after controlling for parents' education.
Reading develops your empathy, which is a desirable skill in 21st century. Just think about it. Everything else is going to be done by robots or the computers, but empathy is hardly tangible and it cannot be taught. This is why we have books.
Multiple studies have shown that imagining stories help us activate the regions of our brain responsible for better understanding others and seeing the world from a new perspective. It is scientifically proven that reading fiction reduces stress and improves your sleep. Reading has shown to put our brains into pleasurable, trance-like state, similar to meditation, and it brings the same health benefits as deep relaxation and inner calm. Regular readers sleep better, have lower stress levels, higher self-esteem, and lower rates of depression than non-readers. Neuroscience shows that those who read more have been found to show fewer of characteristics of Alzheimer's disease and better neuroplasticity. They are more creative in their own profession, and those who prefer books in their free time are in demand even on dating sites, which is not surprising.
Humans use fiction to explore the ideas of change, complex emotions, and the unknown. Humans use fiction to explore anything that science cannot do.
Research shows that serial readers have more empathy, sense of humor, and believe in a better world, but they're also more realistic and readier for the change.
Before we continue, I want to show you something really amazing. This is the oldest book I have in my possession. It was actually printed in 1924. That's 2 years before my late grandfather was actually born. And it's called Literary Studies and Reviews. It contains some amazing knowledge that it's still hard for me to understand. And can you imagine, even my grandfather was able to learn a lot from this amazing book.
Fill your house with books. You will sleep better, you will have better relationship with your family, your partner and your kids will thank you later since they have much higher chance to live happy and successful life.
If you cannot jump high like Michael Jordan in his prime, or run fast like Usain Bolt in his prime, or actually deep dive just using your breath for 10 minutes straight, or endure freezing cold like this guy from our previous episode, maybe you should just read a book. There lies your superpower.
Thank you for watching one more episode of Fabric of Life. I hope you enjoyed it. Please write down in the comments which book changed your life forever. See you next week. We are preparing something really spectacular for you. Until then, stay tuned and curious, and don't forget, libraries still exist.